Hello and welcome to another Decisions in the Making video. Today I want to show you two clips. In the first clip I'm in the energy disadvantage and try to equalize the energy states, and in the second clip I'm in the energy advantage and try to keep it. I will talk a bit about analyzing the fighting style of my opponent here and how I base my decisions on that. I'm flying the BF-109 G6 late, which is in essence like the BF-109 G14 we have already in the sim, but the G6 late is a bit lighter than the G14, but in essence it's basically the same aircraft. In both clips I fight P-51s. I can outturn, outclimb them, but I can't outrun them, nor can I catch them when they are on equal energy. So we have to come up with tactics to exploit the strength and to avoid the weaknesses of my aircraft. The situation is the following. I'm flying alone, I took off slightly ahead of the Hydra crew and they are still on the ground getting themselves ready for the sorties. So I can't expect any help really soon. And I'm cruising around the city of Antwerp looking for trouble. All of a sudden I see flak buffs behind me and I'm out of range of enemy flak, so this must be an enemy, but I can't see him yet. I turn in to the right. If an enemy is following me, he must appear to my rear right if he wants to cut me off here. And indeed there's a P-51 lining up on me. I dive and turn into him and I repeat that a couple of times to deny him good gun solutions. I notice how he's not blindly following me, but he's careful not to spend too much energy. So my initial plan here is to make me a very unattractive target by evading his attacks a couple of times, and the goal is to make him realize that I'm not an easy kill and to hope that he leaves me alone after a couple of evasions. I'm not even thinking about reversing the situation, I only want to get rid of him, so I drag him to the nearest frontline airfield where people can land and put the aircrafts down but nobody can take off from. It's protected by some flak and teammates get a warning when an enemy is around, so that's a good spot to get help and to get some cover. After a couple of evasions he attacks again, and this time I vary my evasion a little bit by turning in and then rolling out of the way. That attack costs him some energy. This time he comes around to attack me again a bit more quickly, and this was a point where I realized that he's not going to let me alone. He's now really focused on me and he's trying to shoot me down, so the only option is really now to defeat him. In the grand scheme of things, it's a very bad spot for him to fight me here. He is marked by flak, he's alone, and he's low in enemy territory. But all that doesn't help me much, since I'm still in the energy disadvantage. I need to deal with this situation. Between attacks I tried to rest my pilot a bit. The tight turns did tire him here a bit. By flying straight and level, the pilot catches his breath and is able to regain some of the stamina, and later on I can pull more G again. He dives again, and this time I have more turning room and I can turn into him in a low G ascending turn. Goal is to set up an energy trap by enticing him to a tight turn to get guns on, and he bites. But my execution was not ideal, he has still some energy left to zoom up. I climb and shoot after him, and I try to recover my plane after the eventual stall, but I make a pilot error, the aircraft stalls even more and I end up in a brief inverted spin. Not an ideal situation. This allows the 51 to shoot a 50 cal through the rear fuselage and nothing important was hit. However, this steep attack did cost him some energy. He's pulling up right away and too steeply. He lost so much energy because he was diving very steeply and needed lots of room below me to recover his dive. I'm flying a very light aircraft, can recover relatively quickly, and I'm still in the energy disadvantage, but all this allows me to zoom up to him. He also finishes up the next loop way too early and shaves off even more energy of his already now lower energy state. As he comes down again, I notice that he won't be able to get guns on me here, but I get a chance to shoot at him. I'll hit his left wing quite good with 20mm shells, and his aircraft is right now fully loaded. He pulls back the stick, and this sudden loss of lift on one side causes a violent snap roll, and with the damage of his wing he's not able to recover that dive and smashes into the ground. The second fight is of an entire different nature. It was shortly after the engagement you just have seen, and I have a P-51 again behind me, but this time he has less energy than me, so the first action is to turn in aggressively to outturn him. I use here my energy advantage for turn performance. Basically, while descending I can turn very tightly. With this tactic I get 1 or 2 good solutions, but I only hit him with a glancing blow of my 13mm. He seems very unimpressed by that. By that point I'm on the verge to G-lock and my pilot is very tired again, so I level out and use the time I have to rest my pilot and to increase my energy advantage once again. Goal is to bleed out his speed in the climb, and for this I steepen the climbing angle more and more. The slower the P-51 gets, the better for me. After this climbing battle, at some point he levels out, so this is the time for me to strike. To counter that, he dives, and this was also very clever how he did it. In the dive he turned a little bit and used his higher G tolerance and equalized energy a bit. But he still can't follow me. And the next time I dive on him, I mix things up a little bit and stay higher by aborting the dive early and waiting that he loses speed and that he evades me. This way I can hammer him down to the deck until he can't dive anymore. And eventually he hits the deck, but he's still very fast and tries to outrun me. Even though his aircraft is much faster, I can counter that with my altitude by diving on him. I'm now in a very good position directly above him. I want to slow him down even more, that he has to accelerate to reach his top speed, and that's where you want to have a Mustang, below top speed. And if that is achieved, he is dead meat. For that I feign another attack, which leads to another evasion, which costs him even more speed. I can now try a proper attack. And for some reason, I don't know why, he just pulls up straight, and lots of fighting before was very good, but this maneuver was not. It was quite easy to hit him here. That was basically the end of the fight. For some reason he was able to run a little bit further, but posed no threat, and he went down after all. The rest of the chase is not very interesting. He even landed outside of my recording bubble where I can see him. So the fight was over at this point here. He could have prevented his demise a couple of times, by the way. For example, not to attack a B-49 in the energy disadvantage. So he attacked me, I was on higher energy right from the beginning. He also could have run away earlier when I was really high above him. That way he could have forced a high-speed chase or something like this, which is much harder to follow in a 109. But he was stubborn and wanted to shoot me, and in this case he paid for it. But this is it for today. I see you in the next one.